Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's could say could make that any better.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRS FC and F1 podcast by Soccer Nerds. I am a soccer nerd. I'm André Carlisle here with two other soccer nerds. Kyle, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a nice break. I don't understand though why we have like a break and then a race and then another break. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm also selfish and I just wanted a race weekend. It's finally here.
Yeah, I will never really understand the F1 calendar. Somebody who complains a lot about like the NWSL calendar not being released in time and all of that stuff. At least it kind of makes sense. This is a little bit weird. You got two races and then you have a long ass summer break, and we just had a 2.5 week break. It's really ridiculous. Donald, how are you?
I'm good. You buried the lead, Andre. Happy birthday to you, sir. Hope you're having a good day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, today we are going to talk about the Belgian Grand Prix. We may have breaking fun tire news for everybody. That's how you start off a podcast. Very excited about this, but this is an F1 race. Not only is it an F1 race, it is a sprint weekend as well. Why they sprint around the longest lap on the calendar, I don't really understand. That doesn't really read a sprint to me, but okay. This
like
is
middle distance and track. Like you don't
right.
You don't tell them to run a mile.
Yeah, I don't think.
Congrats, you're doing the 800. Let's go.
Right. This is like the 800 of the sprint races. I don't really understand why this is as it is, but hey, here it is. So I will introduce you as we do to the track a little bit. We'll get some history from it. I'll go to Donald for that. And then for what happened in 2024, we'll talk to Kyle about that before we get into discussing the track overall and then that delicious tire news that I teased just a second ago. But first, this is a track that is 7.004 kilometers long. That is 4.35 miles. So very, very long track. They do 44 laps in the Grand Prix around that. I don't know. For the sprint, they probably do like 6. I don't know. It's a long ass track. The race lap record is 1 minute 44.701 seconds, set by Checo Perez in 2024. Yeah, that was one of those where he just like stopped because it didn't really matter. He just wanted to get the point, put on the soft tires, go around a lap. There you go. You got the fastest lap. But there it is. He's got it. Donald, history.
Yeah, well, this has one of the longest histories in F1. It was originally built. Spa was originally built in 1921. They used main roads between two towns to kind of form this huge circuit, which actually was a lot longer when it first came about. It was 9.25 miles. Can you imagine how long this F1 race would be if this was a 9.25 mile track? They would go like 3 laps and they'd be like, all right, that's enough. We're done. The first Grand Prix here was in 1950. They did try this long circuit for 29 years. 1979, they redesigned it to the current layout, which is still to this date by far the longest track on the circuit.
A 9-mile circuit would be absolutely hilarious. You basically have to change your tires after like 3 laps.
It would be like the Olympics where they're like, hey, the marathon has started. Anyway, let's go to gymnastics. They do like a whole event. Right. They come back. Let's see how marathon's going. They're still running. Okay, we're going to go to on the track. Let's go to badminton on 3. And they just kind of do this for like several hours. And they go, by the way, you missed it. The marathon finally ended. Somebody did win. We'll take you to the finish after the break.
I'm not going to lie. I always kind of feel sad. It's like, especially when they do it the indoor or just like around the track when it's like 1600 or whatever, they just start jogging and you're like, okay, this is just going to be what you're watching the entire time. So they go to something else, come back. Oh, they're still jogging.
It's worse to actually run it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there like, why am I making the choices I did? I screwed up somewhere in life.
I'm sure you can write a book in that time it takes to run that whole thing. That's why I ran sprints when I was in track.
Yeah, that's why I just did jumps. Because
there you go.
Jumps too.
You're not having me run more than 30 seconds.
Exactly. I was going to say sprinting. I can tough it out for a sprint. Long distances, no, thank you. Not my thing. Kyle, what happened we'll just stick to the Grand Prix in 2024.
Well, for the longest time, we thought George Russell pulled off a masterclass. He was being a tire whisperer. He only did one stop, finished first. Him and Lewis Hamilton were battling, but George Russell finished ahead. Lewis was second. And then Oscar Piastri, who was kind of lurking near the end, finished third. but they don't do a cooldown lap because this track is so long. So George couldn't pick up any marble or do anything to add weight to his car. So he got disqualified. It was interesting because it's like he had this whole celebration and then F1 account, which is the messiest account known to man, showed him crying because he got disqualified, which means Lewis Hamilton had gotten his second straight win in 2024. Oscar Piastri then got promoted up to P2. And then Charles Leclerc got the last podium spot with Max Verstappen finishing fourth and Lando Norris finishing fifth. Other than George, who, again, got disqualified, Zhou Guanyu, unfortunately, was the only other driver not to finish because of a hydraulic failure to his car. So it was definitely chaotic. Also, this was Daniel Ricciardo's last point that he got in his Formula One career.
Wow,
His Formula career so far.
No, it's done.
We talk about Red Bull. No. Red Bull might need him.
No.
I think somebody asked him recently about, which, by the way, he looks like caveman style. Like he is just like his beard, his mustache, his hair, everything's grown out. They asked him and he was just like, he just laughed. He's like, no, like he's so done with F1. It's a wrap. He's enjoying his life. I am sure of it. All right, let's talk about this track a little bit. As we keep talking about, it is very long. The lap is very long. There are many sections to this track, though. It's interesting to see Lewis Hamilton, what did so well last year. It was these two fairly long laps with a lot of different complexes. You get your straights, and then you have your kind of corner complexes you got to get right. Then you have some more straights. That was like very similar to Silverstone, and Lewis loved that track. He did very well there. We actually thought he had a chance for, pole position in qualifying until he did something silly in the final sector. But it's interesting to see that he's as good or good with this kind of track as well. And so this should be an interesting one. But let's keep talking about the track itself, because I think for as long as it is, it only has 2 DRS zones, which is kind of fascinating. Donald, yes.
Okay, so let's be real here. Spa is probably the most popular track on the circuit. Everyone loves Spa. I love Spa. If there is one gripe I have about Spa, is that we go to other tracks that are the size of a CVS in Brooklyn, and they have 3 DRS zones. And this thing that is, again, the 800 of the track world only got 2. Come on, man, we gotta add at least one. And the great thing is there is plenty of space for you to add a third one. I know they have some of these undulating curves, but we've had undulating curves in other tracks that are part of DRS zones, so they can easily add a third one. I just need them to stop playing. Maybe it's funny. I know we're getting rid of DRS, and we have to talk about our name and the relic it is about to become. But with the new changes coming next year, I wonder if Spa, again, because of the competition between some of these other tracks that are trying to get on the calendar, I wonder if Spa is going to have to take the initiative to create something about it to keep it fresh. Again, it's still popular by the fans, but that doesn't stop the big dollar donors from other places from trying to replace it. Because every time we talk about replacing a track, Spa somehow ends up on that short list of ones that could be eliminated, and we don't want it to be. I think the first step is add another DRS zone. Make us happy, and I think it makes the drivers happy.
It'll be interesting because they have already confirmed Spa will have a race next year, 2027, 2029, and 2031. So we'll definitely know within the first 2 years if it's going to be able to adjust or if they're going to make changes. But I feel like it won't be until probably closer to that 2030, maybe like the 2031 post time, where we'll see a change in the track. And who knows, there will probably be new regs that will be like, hey, just kidding, we're going to have DRS back, we're adding a third zone.
Yeah, I've actually been doing some listening and some reading to the new about the new regulations in 2026, and I don't have time to get into it all now, but from a former engineer, I have heard the phrase, quote, a nightmare. So good. Love that. So yeah, we got some interesting things coming, but sticking to this track, I kind of agree with you, Donald. I think having another DRS zone would be interesting. Like, I'm even thinking when you were talking about some of the undulating turns that have DRS zones, I'm kind of thinking like Mexico has one that kind of is this, like a little, a slow S curve or something. They have one of those in Sector 3, but there's no DRS there. I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe that's a good thing because this track is so long. You don't like, it's kind of like, it's almost like, what do they say? Like an artist is like your favorite artist. I feel like this is your favorite driver's like favorite track or whatever. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that is the way that I look at Spa. And I don't necessarily know if you want to artificially, do, especially because I think my main thing is, yes, I love the straights. I think we'll talk about like Eau Rouge and Red de Leon or however you say it. That's one of the most iconic in F1. I think there's like so many famous shots of cars about to go through that complex, go through that. It's like a downhill, then uphill, and it's like just a little kink and a little swerve, but then a straight. It is, you can take it flat out, and if you do, it's just gorgeous and looks great. But I think Sector 2 is the one with like the majority of the turns. And if you don't get that right, that kind of messes up your entire lap. And again, it's such a long lap, but there are spaces where you can like get this power down, have the speed carry you. But if you don't make up the time, if you don't get your corners right, your apexes right through that Sector 2, then you kind of ruin your entire lap. And I think it's kind of fascinating that you can't then like make up for it with a DRS zone, like at the beginning or in the middle of like Sector 3. So I'm kind of here for it, but also I'm a bit of a hater.
I mean, look, it again, there's so much quality about this track. It's easy to love it. And yeah, usually when you love something, you're like, hey, it ain't broke. Don't fix it. Especially when it comes to F1, who loves fixing things that ain't broke. But in this case, I'm like, hey, there is opportunity here to add. And again, I think when you're talking about, again, trying to stay competitive, trying to stay relevant as a track when so many other tracks from other places are trying to work their way into the calendar, there's very few. And you've noticed, Miami has been extended to 2041. Silverstone's been extended to 2041. I think Montreal has been extended to 2041. So you have all these
Red Bull Ring too. I think that was like 2045 or something. It's
yeah.
bonkers.
So like you see a lot of these long-term extensions, and as Kyle mentioned, you got like, okay, 2 years and then a break, and then 2 years and then another break, and then what's next? That is what worries me about Spa, is that no matter how popular it may be amongst the fans and a lot of the drivers, F1 is still like, yo, this ain't bringing us the money that we need to, because it's not exciting or it's not relevant or it's not sexy. So they need to figure out a way to continue to make it relevant, make it sexy, and make it where the people who are in charge, how dumb they may be, say, hey, we can't keep this off the calendar.
Yeah, I think that's right, because it, like Kyle went through the years that it's been extended to, you'll notice there are some gap years. They're apparently going to do that with some of the European races where they're just going to like rotate tracks, especially with like the new Madrid track coming in. It's going to be a street circuit. You're going to have a few more street circuits. I believe they might end up doing one in Africa, though they keep talking about it, and who knows if it's actually going to happen. But yeah, it looks like some of the European tracks are going to go to kind of part-time tracks almost, or every other year. And I just don't know if Spa should be on that list. It feels like it's too iconic of a track to be on that list. I think you have to have some foundation, and it feels like a foundational part of F1. And that's what's interesting to me. Kyle, your thoughts on that discussion, but also then larger, your just thoughts on the track overall.
I mean, I think the track is one of those, like, it has that hill. And I think that's like one of the things. And this is another great one of play video games, because I love watching it from the driver cam. So I would absolutely recommend it if you can. But I think with this track, I think it's going to stay around because it is one of those tracks where if Formula One wouldn't have it, people would riot. There would be a very loud vocal reaction. And if there's one, Formula One may love money, but you can't make money if you piss off the base that's going to get you that money. People show up for it. So I think it's always going to be there. I think right now they're just testing to see, is this one of those where maybe just got to make adjustments to the track to work with the new regs? So maybe that's why they haven't gotten a guaranteed longer stint as opposed to the other ones like Madrid, Miami, even Vegas. Like those are built for these new regs and probably set up so that it can be used in the future. While the European ones is kind of more trying to figure out, is this track going to work with the regs? So I don't think it's going to permanently go away, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a year where they have to make adjustments, so they just take it off the calendar for that particular year. And I can see it where, all right, we're bringing in Germany, but we're going to sacrifice Spa. Or we're going to bring France back, but we got to sacrifice Spa for it.
Oh, the Le Mans track. Oh, that's another long one though.
I'm just saying.
See, if Le Mans is thrown into this conversation, I'm here to tell you, you gotta do it, man. Like, you gotta do it. That would be very, very intriguing. But we could talk about it. I could go down a whole thing with that.
Yeah, no doubt. That is interesting. But yeah, I kind of agree with you as well, Kyle. Like, I do think that, I almost kind of want to have you say it again to people. I know, like, we don't have the sort of like audience where maybe someone from F1 would potentially be listening, but I think the sentence that you had was like, you don't piss off the base that's going to give you the money that you're expecting. I feel like that needs to be like written on the mirror for like every CEO, everybody like of a major company. Like, don't piss off the people that brought you here. That, like, why are you changing HBO to HBO Max to just Max? All right, people are tuned into HBO. Don't be stupid. And now they're going back to it. I just feel like they need a constant reminder. Like, you built something, it means something. Let it continue to mean that, because people are.
Red Lobster learned this. Red Lobster has figured that out. Like, we should not F around with the stuff that we did. Seafood boil? Yes, we got it. Good job, Red Lobster. And look at them, thriving.
There you go, thriving. F1. Learn from Red Lobster. Perfect. All right. The much anticipated tire talk is something that we also need to talk about with this track, because yes, it's a long track, but it's also Pirelli is also doing something a little interesting, something they haven't done since 2018 to try to make it a little bit more interesting, even more interesting on the strategy side. So they are skipping a compound. So you have tires from C1, I believe C6 is the softest range. C1 is the hardest. And they usually do like a 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 or whatever in terms of the tires that they bring. The softest is the soft, and then medium, and then hard. I don't know why I'm explaining that, but I just did, so sorry. They're skipping a compound. So they're bringing the hardest, C1, skipping the C2, and then going C3 and C4. The idea behind that is to open up strategy. They basically want to make like a tire unusable so that teams have to stop more in order to continue to like post the fastest times around the track, like the best time. So I think it's a fascinating strategy. I also feel like if you have to manipulate it this bad, maybe this is a Band-Aid instead of like maybe addressing a deeper problem. But Donald, your thoughts on skipping a compound? Because I do think it's going to create some drama, but artificially maybe?
I don't know that it's artificial. I think I know we were going to talk about it, but I think what throws the element of surprise and intrigue into it is that it is also a sprint weekend. So you have to have some tires fresh to take you through that. And yeah, they'll get some data on how long these tires last, especially considering the sprint is usually 18, 19 laps. But as you mentioned, it might be a bit shorter given how long this track is. But I'm really interested in seeing how these teams kind of take their Lego pieces that are tires and do this matrix where they have enough tires to get them through this race, and like you said, as fast as possible. What a lot of people don't know is, and I think we shared this a couple weeks ago on social media, they did a great breakdown of they get X amount of tires per weekend, and every single FP1, FP2 qualifying, they have to give back a set of tires. So they only are left with a few sets of tires for the actual race. Now, sometimes they give back the wets because they know it's not going to rain. Sometimes they give back softs they've already used. But that's why you see some teams are like, yeah, all we got left are softs that we used in FP2. It's because throughout the weekend, they gambled on certain compounds thinking they wouldn't need them. And then all of a sudden, dang, we need them. So this is going to be interesting because the sprint throws a lot into it, because I think they get one fewer set of tires. Now they really have to figure out which tires are going to work, and they only have 2 practices to do it. Really, well, it's really one before the qualifying.
Yeah,
before sprint qualifying, and then the actual sprint. So I like this. Is it a Band-Aid? Sure, but it's one of those Band-Aids that has the patterns on it that you kind of look and go, "Ooh, I got
like
it."
Spider-Man Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's a Spider-Man Band-Aid, so everyone knows that you got cut. But looks cool. And so I think again, some of these teams are an autopilot. They're coming off of a longish break, and now they got to figure out, now they just threw a monkey wrench into the program for the first time in 7 years. Yeah. I'm kind of intrigued to see how some teams work with this.
That's the thing, though. Like, you're skipping a compound, you're doing it at a sprint race, you're doing it at the longest track on the calendar, and you're only giving them one practice session. I feel like this is going to be an absolute
Go for
nightmare.
it. Let's go.
Straight up chaos. Kyle, your thoughts on this random decision?
As my fiance has noted, Pirelli is just contributing to a conspiracy theory, and Pirelli's tires are just terrible. Skipping a compound is definitely a choice, but it's interesting because the thing with Spa is they have one of the shortest pit lanes. So it says the average time is going to be about 24 seconds, which isn't too bad compared to most other tracks. So it is kind of, I'm curious how many teams are going to say, okay, we won't lose too much time going in a pit, so we'll do multiple so we can see a lot of mediums and softs. But the problem is with the sprint race, who knows like how those tires are going to hold up. So the mediums, I feel like, do you use a medium on a sprint because you know it can last longer and can go that well? Or are you going to use a soft and gamble it at the end? We saw last year trying to do a one-stop strategy probably isn't the way to go, as George Russell showed, because then your car is at risk of being underweight. So I'm very curious if it's going to be kind of like a hard compound, then soft, or just like mediums and softs. But at the same time, with the sprint, you're kind of like, well, you're probably not gonna have many softs left. So I don't know why they're doing this. Oh, and the fun part is none of this might not matter if it rains, like it's potentially going to on race day.
Oof.
This is what makes it funny for me, is that, again, they keep having to figure out which tires are going to have to give back. They have one fewer set of tires. They're going to blow through a set of tires, at least one in the sprint. And then, oh yeah, it might rain. So you got to keep the wets. You got to keep at least the intermediates on standby in case it does. And there may be some teams who really, I mean, last time it rained, we had chaos just based on that alone before the race even started. So the fact that you're throwing this extra, gap in compound in there, I think is going to be very funny, because there is going to be at least one team that makes a dumbass mistake before the race even starts and really throws this thing in a cast. Because as long as this track is, if you lose a couple seconds per lap, 5 seconds per lap, bruh, they're going to have to put your car in timeout before lap 3 because you're been lapped twice. That's how long this track is.
Yeah, and Friday, it's supposed to be showers with sunny intervals, 65% chance of precipitation. Saturday, light rain with a gentle breeze, 45% chance. And then race day, sunny start, showers as the afternoon progresses, 40% chance. That is via the Atlassian Williams Racing website. So, yeah, there's going to be some bad strategies happening, and that will add to the chaos and fun of it.
This is kind of why I kind of, I'm of two minds. On one, I'm kind of here for Pirelli messing around. Like, we've gotten to the point where we've had these regs for a while, teams have perfected them, and you need to manufacture something. You need to create some sort of variance or something that allows for a strategy to separate them or make the races interesting. And I think tire compounds and what you bring to a race is an interesting way to kind of help introduce an unknown element, which can be fun. But again, this track is already interesting. I think everybody already got the warning last year when George said, oh, I'll just one stop here. And then his car was disqualified. I think people are probably going to say, well, we can't do that again. That would be a little bit silly. So I feel like you are. And then, of course, the weather. I feel like you already have like 3 pretty big factors that shows that this is a race that has its own, that you don't need to manufacture anything else. And the fact that they're doing it, and again, with just one practice session, is very, very interesting. Almost feels a little bit unfair, but as I mentioned, I'm a hater and I'm here for drama, so I'm kind of here for the chaotic decision, but also logically, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'll be honest.
Like, why this track? Weird. Why are we screwing around with this track?
Right. Yeah, this track of all tracks.
They woke up last week. They woke up last week and they were like, oh, we got like one more week before the end of this little mini break. Like, how do we come out of that? New tires. Let's fuck up the tires.
We're skipping a compound at Spa. Deal with it. It's like, all right. Oh, okay. Feel like I see where y'all are feeling, where your head's at now. Okay. We almost had Deepti for a bit. We mentioned tires, and we almost manifested her, but we did and did not. So in the doc that we have, she wrote down something that has nothing to do with tires. Whenever she's on the podcast, she looked at the tracks when we do a preview, and she suggests what it looks like. Sometimes that's been great and a lot of fun. And sometimes she's like, it's a uterus. And you're like, damn it, now I don't know what to do with this information. But she says the track looks like a crab claw. Gentlemen, agree or disagree?
No, that's fair.
What kind of crab? I'm trying to think if it's like, it's not a stone
she did
crab.
Not specify.
It's not a Maryland blue crab.
Definitely not.
So I mean, yeah, so it might be one of them Florida, like another Florida crab, not a stone crab, but another kind. But I can see it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Unrelated, did y'all see that Miami's track partner was featured in NFLPA director's resignation? See, he should just listen to the pod. He could have told.
Yeah,
could have told him what was up.
I saw that. Yeah, well, my man did a shift at Tootsie's.
Did a shift and a half, and let me tell you, it's not as bad as a shift I put in last time I was there. Anyway,
and on that note, we are going to take a break and then get into what to watch before we go to our last segment and do predictions. Yeah, we all learned in the group chat Donald has a history with Tootsies, and that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, and we are back. Shout out, listen, Tootsies, if you want to sponsor the podcast, you know where who to contact. Clearly,
it's me.
We are going to go around and talk about what we want to watch for in this race because, as Kyle mentioned, it feels like it's been a very long time since we've had a race. You only get 2 races in back-to-back weekends, and then you're off to a summer break. So we're already to this will be the start of the second half of the season as well, which again, weird why the summer break wouldn't be the thing in between the 2 halves of the season. I don't make the calendar. Somebody else who seems to be very silly does. So that's what we got. So we're going to kind of go through some of this because there are so many interesting things it could be look for in this race because it just has been a while. And last time we left, things were also pretty intriguing between Oscar and Lando, what's going on at Red Bull. I mean, this will be the first race in 20 years where Christian Horner is not a team principal at Red Bull. That's wild. So a lot changed since the last race. So Kyle, on that note, what's your thing to watch?
You segue perfectly into it. How's Red Bull going to respond to this last month of drama? Christian Horner's out. All right, great. You have that. Max Verstappen flirting with Mercedes. Who knows what's going on there? There's rumors that Yuki Tsunoda is not coming back to Red Bull next year. I don't know what Red Bull's supposed to do with all this. Like, you would think this is the time to, all right, we're all one team. You know how like a coach gets fired and then the team immediately does well in the interim coach? So it's like, is Laurent Mekies going to be the interim coach and you get that new coach bounce? No, because the car sucks. So that's not actually going to happen. But I do wonder what happens with this team and how they respond to it. How is Max going to respond? Because he's going to get asked about the Mercedes stuff. He's probably not going to give much of an answer, but how is he going to drive? How is Yuki Tsunoda going to respond to the pressure that is growing on him because he has not done as well as everyone would have hoped? The car's bad. The team's struggling. It seems a very distant fourth from Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. I don't know what they're going to do. It'll be interesting to see how that response goes. Is there going to be a new coach bump? And if that's true, then how much do people hate working for Christian Horner at the end?
Yeah, I'm kind of here for Laurent. I think he's a very smooth character. He's an interesting kind of person as a to be in the lead of Red Bull. So I kind of like the decision they made. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, Kyle. Like, this is a lot of change. And the last time Max was consistently badgered about the same topic, which is one of his favorite things in media, he gets very, very frustrated and very, very annoyed, and it feels like it can affect his performance. He's a little bit more testy on track and does silly things, complains even more on track sometimes. So yeah, this will be interesting because those questions are going to be, if they're not already started, we're recording on Tuesday. he's probably already fed up with them, and I don't even know if he's been asked a single one yet. So we will see. Donald, your thoughts on the Red Bull situation and everything Kyle brought up there?
Yeah, I think, my thing to watch has got to be that. It's also coupled with, to borrow from the HR lady and her VP boyfriend going to the Coldplay concert, getting caught in 4K. You have the flirting between Toto and Max, the trips to Sicily together. Their planes just happen to be in the same airport in Sicily where neither of them live. No reason. They just both like sand, I guess. But I think the other thing is last year we knew the most unprecedented domino was Lewis going to Ferrari. That happened before the season started. So we all knew, like even a Drive to Survive, you kind of knew, we knew what was happening well before the season started. So the real biggest domino that came through the silly season that was the summer break was where Carlos Sainz was going to end up. And that would, it took, about a little bit, 2/3 of the season before he decided to go to Williams.
Yeah, forever.
We have two more unprecedented little ripples here, dominoes that can drop during this summer break. That's Max's decision. And if he ends up going to Mercedes, then it's about George and where George ends up. There's also two new teams that are entering the grid next year. I mean, two, like Sauber switching to Audi, but you in essence have two new teams entering the grid. You have Christian Horner flirting with Alpine, with Ferrari, basically anybody who will talk to him. And then you got drivers who are saying, if you bring in Christian Horner, I will leave. So you have this huge soap opera happening right now because of the Christian Horner situation. How it affects, and the biggest thing to me is not how it affects Red Bull, it's how it affects Racing Bulls, because, Laurent was doing well there, right? We've talked about how those guys, I mean, even Lawson, he's done okay since he's been back. But
he got points. He did get points.
He could get points. But like Isak Hadjar has been doing quite well this season after the very first race where we all know what happened.
Ooh, can I give you a stat? I saw. I don't want to interrupt your point. So
no, go ahead.
But I saw a graphic today, and I'm sorry I don't remember exactly who posted it. But there are a few drivers who have always gotten out of Q1 this season. There's of course the two McLarens, Oscar and Lando. Mm-hmm. There's Lewis and Charles. There's Max as well, and then there's Hadjar.
Right.
That's it. It's amazing.
Every single time you see him in Q2 and again sometimes in Q3. It's about what happens in race day that maybe affects his positioning, but I think that they're going to take a huge hit. And then again, all the swirling about what's happening, we have not talked about the rookie that they tried to get sanctioning for because he's only 17 years old, who could pop in at any moment because he's about to turn 18 and this wouldn't be a thing. But that was also led by Horner, who's now gone. So it's a lot going on at Red Bull that's going to affect a lot of other teams, also a lot of other drivers on the grid. And I'm wondering how that affects the racing because McLaren's kind of out to the side. Ferrari seems to be intact minus the Horner, rumors. And I wonder if, again, that could, someone like Lewis, someone like Charles, that might fuel them to perform even better. But like, no, we're going to keep Vassar. Here's why. He can get us to our peak. Here's closer to our peak. So I'm interested to see how all this drama affects the actual race driving, because it will affect the race driving, at least for a couple teams.
So I know you said that it was Max and Mercedes was kind of like the Coldplay situation. I would say this is more like Rory Gilmore openly flirting with what's his face? You guys know the other dude, Jess. It's Rory Gilmore openly flirting with Jess while she was dating Dean. We're all kind of like, what are we doing here? And she's like, no. It's nothing. That's what it is. Max Verstappen is Rory Gilmore, which actually makes a lot of sense why I hate him so much, because Rory sucks.
Full circle.
Is that a Love Island thing?
Oh, no, that was Gilmore Girls thing. I mean, if they bring in the new kid, that's a Love Island. A new bombshell has entered the Red Bull. So,
right. Which actually, the Coldplay thing reminded me of something I dropped in the chat where somebody had the photo of before the camera, they realized they're on camera, the embrace, and somebody had photoshopped like Toto and Max in that embrace, which I thought was extremely hilarious because it certainly feels like that's the stage they're at right now. But we'll see. I mean, I also think that people are ignoring maybe Aston Martin's role in this. I know that it might be a little bit more difficult to figure out who's going to be booted out of their Aston Martin seat. All of us would say Lance is an obvious one. Again, go let him dance
Both
and
of
just
them.
make it Max and Fernando. But Fernando is 97 years old. You could see him being like, hey, buddy, why don't you go to Le Mans? Why don't you go to IndyCar? If you want to keep driving, go ahead. Do one of those things. It's fine. Thank you so much for your input. But I think Aston Martin could certainly make a play here as well. So, and this is why, what is it? They call it the Piranha Club of the F1 team principals and CEOs. When there's blood in the water, they will feast. And if Max is unhappy and now Horner's gone, I am sure there are so many back channel conversations happening from just about every team. Like even Alpine's got to be like, hey Max, we might nail the regs next year. We're not going to have a Renault engine. We're going to have that Mercedes engine. How about that? How you feeling? And then Max just hangs up. But I'm sure they're making the call.
Look, there's a bunch of Bob Sugars to borrow from Jerry Maguire. There's a bunch of Bob Sugars out there, right? And they're all telling this, telling them that. But again, it's not even Jerry Maguire that's sitting here on the phone. It's Suge Knight saying, Max, come to death row. Hangs up the phone. Picks up the phone again. You know what to do. You know what time it is.
Suge Knight?
Absolutely.
I'm saying he's acting like it. He's flying everywhere. He's in. If you think about it, Max is here. All of a sudden, Toto's there too. Max is over here in this city. All of a sudden, Toto's there too. And again, they're probably not even having all these conversations. He's probably just like, hey, reminder, you're out here getting groceries. Death row was with you. Hangs up the phone, walks off. I think this is where Max has a lot of leverage here too, because he can then go to Red Bull. He could do all this to turn back and go to Red Bull and go, have y'all cleaned y'all act up? Are y'all good? Because now the price of the brick has gone up. And so but I think once that domino falls, then you have the George domino. You still have the Christian Horner domino somewhere. And then after that, you have these other two teams and who they could bring in, because I promise you, if Audi or Cadillac think they have a chance to land one of those two drivers specifically, and all they got to do is throw X amount of money at it, they're going to try and take a meeting. And that could be a huge, huge loop in this. So again, we're 2 weeks from silly season, but silly season really began during this little mini break.
Yeah, definitely. And I also hear that Carlos Sainz isn't too happy either. So he's been kind of saying hey, I wish I was at Red Bull with Max. I think we'd be a great pairing. And it's like, Carlos, what are you doing, man? You just got there.
Everyone's acting like a horny college student, sending you up texts at 3 a.m. after bar close.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's like, ooh, this is interesting. Who can I go home with?
Oh, I saw you having a heated conversation with your man. Everything good?
Yeah, exactly. Everything okay?
I can come for you.
You good over there? Just if you want to talk about it, I'm here. That's all I want to say. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. I'd never treat you like that. This is definitely the season we're in right now. Let's talk about what Deep D wants to talk about before I drop what I want to watch, because mine, if you've been following the podcast, it's going to be very obvious. So let's start with Deep D. Apparently, if you're a mom to a son who's into racing, there's a good chance that he's going to be in F1 someday. Got a lot of Belgian moms out there. So Deepty wants to know, which Belgian mom will get bragging rights? Lando's mom, Max's mom, or Lance's mom? And she typed in all caps, LOL, next to Lance's mom. So I think we all co-signed the LOL. So it's really, I don't even
think Lance's
Lando
mom
or Max's
knows
mom.
what he's doing.
I don't know that Lance's mom has ever had the opportunity to say, yo, let's do this for bragging rights. I don't she can't even come up to that with the conversation of starting that particular time kind of trash talk, because they're like, wait, which one's your boy? Which one's your son? Oh, he's out in the back. That him? we're not worried about you. You want bragging rights? Yeah, okay.
No, so
what if he finished 10th?
I feel like Lance's mom knows the truth. No, we've been saying Lance just wants to dance. I feel like she's known this for years, and she just wants him to be able to. She wants him to do what makes him happy, honey. That's what she wants, and I feel like
she's been quietly amassing the ballroom outfits,
right? Exactly.
Shoes, just in case he says, Mom, I'm thinking about switching. And she's like, I got your shit ready.
Yeah, she's like, I'm ready. I knew this day would come. So yeah, I think she'll be ready, which doesn't mean that, which basically it disqualifies disqualifies him from this conversation. So, so I will ask you then, Lando's mom or Max's mom? Which Belgian mom will be the happiest?
Lando's.
Okay, quick answers. Fair enough. All right, let's get to the one I brought up because mine, you may be surprised to know, it's Ferrari related. It's also Ferrari update related because damn it, they've been telling us all season, hey, we got a rear suspension upgrade coming. Trust me, it's going to be much better. I know we hear our drivers complaining every single week. We got a rear update suspension coming. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We're going to be much better. We know what our problems are. And then they're like, it's going to be at Silverstone. Silverstone comes and it goes. And they're like, nah, we're just kidding. It's going to be a Spa. We'll see. That's all I got to say. They got enough time to have made it, shipped it, and it should be there. All the reports are that it is there, that they were doing testing on it as well over this little bit of a break. So it seems like it's happening. I don't know exactly what it means in terms of what will it do, but I know in terms of feel on the car, that's something Lewis has been very much hoping for. We heard a similar thing with Lando. He was having a problem with feel through the car, and McLaren were able to add something to the car, which wasn't exactly an update because Oscar said he didn't want it. So it's not really a performance update. It's just a comfort update. And ever since that, Lando's been the Lando that we saw like in the second half of last season. And so these things can matter. The question is, will it matter for Ferrari overall, but then Lewis more specifically? I don't know, because I'm tired of putting my faith in Ferrari to do anything competently. So I've kind of given up on that. But it feels like if they're ever going to be a consistent threat for podiums or maybe even race wins, imagine that, Ferrari winning a race, that'd be cool. If this isn't it, then it's on to 2026. And it feels like that means there's a lot riding on this and an already wonky weekend with a sprint and only one practice session. So I'm kind of here for it just to see what happens. But ultimately, I just remain annoyed.
They openly lied to us.
They did. And I told you they would.
Yeah. And so I'm annoyed because I can't believe you're having me defend you on this podcast and then I'm being lied to. Like, fuck you, Ferrari. You can't gaslight me anymore.
I would just like to point out that when that poor reporter was talking about the suspension updates and Lewis was like, we ain't got one. That was over a month and a half ago.
I hate them so much.
That we had that conversation. That they had that moment where he was like, I don't know what information you got, but my car's the same as it was last week. So, I mean, the fact that they're testing and we have reports that they are testing, official reports, gives me more hope that they are actually going to do this thing and they're going to actually try it. Because again, I think going back to the calendar, I think it's stupid that they're going to do it at Spa and then next week and then they're going to have a summer break to, do more stuff. They should have had this on a long time ago, but it's better late than never, I guess. And I think the hope is what is going to kill me in my predictions.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I would like to see somebody besides just Max being Max and being able to be the only one to drive that car, which when it's tuned to the way that he can drive it and it's not raining, or at least it's not raining and they go extreme in the opposite direction with the setup, that like somebody can actually be close to the McLarens. And I also think it's interesting to see like a team like Sauber figure it out and have so much progress from the start of the season to this point in the season. I mean, not just Nico getting on the podium, but they've been consistently picking up points throughout the season. Like they've developed the car to where it's gotten so much better. And because they were at the back, they had to also do the thing that McLaren has done, which is make the car able to be closer to other cars so that you can overtake them, so that you can run closer to them and eventually let your drivers kind of do the work. And that's what's been so cool about McLaren and why they can let their drivers race one another when they're racing for positions. I would like to see Ferrari make that big of a step, but like it just hasn't, it doesn't feel like that's a possibility given what we've seen from them this season already. Like it took them forever to get the underfloor update. Again, like Kyle said, they lied about when the rear suspension update would be there. Now it's finally here, but what does it mean? Is it already kind of too late to make a meaningful difference or what? I don't really know. I'm hoping that this is kind of like, there's really no magic bullet to these things, but you can make pretty substantial steps up, especially when you have great drivers that you can give them something that they can work for and have a little bit more confidence in, they can get better lap times from. you have that in Lewis and Charles. So I'm hoping that this is something that does help them get back up there, because it would be cool. It'd be cool to see like McLaren's not going to get caught in the Constructors Championship, but the drivers could get interesting. And if there's any way to put pressure on either one of those drivers in terms of who can get close enough to them to put pressure on them, now it's not just he, ha, ha, Oscar, Lando are battling each other on track. Now, like, the knives will really be out between the two of them. And that's the stuff, like F1 history is like littered with teammates having knives out for one another. And we could have that again, but it requires pressure from the outside. And I just trying to hope that Ferrari is the team that gives it to us is probably not ideal. I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Now that that's off my chest, thank you for letting me vent. Let's have a break and get to our predictions. All right, we got predictions coming up because this is always a fun thing to look back on, which we always do when we review the races. We go back and see what we've typed into the doc. And so let's see. We will start with our podium predictions. Deepti fills hers in, so I will give her predictions first. So she has a podium of Lando on the top step, Oscar number 2, and Max number 3. Kyle, who you got?
It's very similar. I have Lando at 1, Oscar 2, but I have Charles Leclerc at 3. So even though I just said I'm done being gaslit by Ferrari, here I am putting faith in Ferrari.
Listen, brother, I'm right there with you because I have Oscar winning. I have Lewis second, and that's based off of him just liking tracks like this. And I have Lando third. Donald, how about you? Or do you join us in Ferrari delusion?
Yeah, I'm ready to be heard again. I have Oscar first, I have Lando second, and I have Lewis finishing third.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Every time we do this, we end up hurt, and then we get even more mad at Ferrari, and Ferrari's like, what? We told you not to believe in us. And it's like, damn it, you did. You told us, and we didn't listen to you. Let's go to the constructors battle. This is pretty much a wrap. McLaren's gonna win it, but still, I think it's cool to discuss who might have the most points out of a weekend non-McLaren division. And then we're also going to try and predict who has the least points of the weekend non-Alpine division, because they currently have the lowest or the least. So Deepti says that more Ferrari delusion. In fact, there's going to be a lot of Ferrari delusion here. Ferrari will have the most, and for the least amount of points this weekend, excluding Alpine, she has Racing Bulls. Kyle, who you got?
I also have Ferrari because I'm in a toxic relationship, I guess, with Ferrari. For least, it hurts me to say this. I'm saying Sauber.
Oh, no.
I think they'll do well. I just think it's going to be more like an 11th and like 14th, or like a 12th and 14th kind of thing. I see them in like that 11 through 15 range, so they won't get points. But I don't know. I feel like they're still drunk from Silverstone. Well, like, oh yeah, tires. How do we change tires? Pits, yeah, the jack, sure.
They had us a lot of champagne to drink, given how much was donated to them. So yeah, it's a possibility the hangover is still happening. So yeah, we'll see. That's a good point. For me, I've got Ferrari most points. Again, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to say any more about that. Least points, I've got Aston Martin. Part of that is because Lance Stroll has reverted to being Lance Stroll. He's just always at the back. And unless, there's been a significant update to that car, I think the longer track and the tire shredding, especially skipping compound, is going to be a problem with them. They've kind of had that issue throughout the season managing their tires. And I think this is all going to kind of lead up to something. It's kind of like worst case scenario for them, in my opinion. So I'm going with them to get the least amount of points, which I do think will be 0. Donald.
Look, I'm going to be the positive guy in the group. Ferrari's going to do this, y'all. They're about to come up here. They're about to dominate. They're about to come in here and get most points. That's what I'm thinking. I reserve the right to be wrong. But that's how I'm feeling at this moment. Worst.
I was going to say, I don't want to call you out, but it didn't feel like your heart was in that.
It's in it.
Okay.
It's in it the way Ferrari is in it, which is,
depends on the weekend.
We'll see what happens. Look, my suspension for my heart is coming soon. So one day we'll see it, and then it'll be fine. But then again, it's the hope that kills. The least I say, and this is serious, I think is going to be Racing Bulls. I think Racing Bulls, again, everyone's talking about all the Red Bull drama, forgetting that Racing Bulls got the short end of the stick and getting their team principal yanked from them through no fault of their own, because they are the minor league team of Red Bull. So I think that again, we just talked about how well Hadjar has been doing, and I think that, kind of like Sauber, I think he kind of gets in that 11 to 15 range, but I think it really hurts them. Because they don't have enough time to really work with the new team principal to implement the strategies that they're going to need to get the maximum points that they can out of those cars.
Yeah, I've been listening to some things, and the guy who's stepping into Lawrence's job at Racing Bulls is familiar with the team. He's very good, but again, it's a big leadership change. I mean, Yuki made massive steps dealing with him instead, and now you see where he's at with the Red Bull. Some of that's the car, some of it's just the clusterfuck that the main Red Bull team is at the moment. So, there will definitely be an impact of some sort, and so you really could see that this weekend. So that is true. All right, Zoomy and Gloomy Boy predictions. We do these to predict the driver who's going to have a very good weekend, all-around weekend. So this includes practice sessions, this includes the sprint, this includes the Grand Prix, obviously qualifying. Just want to see, and it's not based on who we think is going to win. It's just based on who's going to just have a really good weekend relative to their car, their performance, like who's around them, their competition around them, all of that stuff. So, and then of course, Gloomy Boy is the opposite, who's going to have a bad weekend. So, Deepti is mentioning Pierre Gasly. She says he often does well in wet weather. So she apparently thinks and has heard that it's going to be a little bit damp there in Spa as well. For Gloomy Boy, she has George Russell and no explanation. All right. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's because silly season has begun and maybe all that stuff is in his head. I don't know. We'll see. Kyle, your predicted Zoomy and Gloomy Boys.
So my Zoomy boy, I'm going to throw a wild card. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz. I feel like he hasn't had that breakout race just yet. He did well here last year. I think this is kind of that race where he and Williams, I think, turned it around after a lot of struggles for the past month and a half, 2 months. So he's my Zoomy boy. My Gloomy boy, Franco Colapinto. I mean, you're on a race by race basis. He might get fired by the time we get off of this recording. He might get fired by the time we record the review. It's that dire for him, and he's not doing well. I mean, at least the goal is he can hopefully start, because he didn't do that last race at Silverstone. So I just don't have faith in Colapinto. I don't think having the pressure of I could literally get fired at any moment does wonders for a driver, as we've seen with Checo Perez in the past. So I'm going to say Colapinto, and this is the last race.
Yeah, I'm definitely not expecting Colapinto. If it's not this race, it'll definitely be after the summer break. I do not think he's going to be in that car much longer. So this could be the start of that. I've got Ollie Behrman as my Zoomy boy. I think Ollie's had a very good season. His whole thing is he just is not consistent in qualifying. But I think he's the driver who has the most overtakes. Now, that's a little bit inflated because for some reason he ends up on the back row for half the damn races. And that car is not a back row car. So naturally, you'd expect him to be able to make up some places once the races start. But I think he's been very good. And I think that if he can work on that qualifying and start higher, he can do that. And I think this is a track where you can make overtakes on the track. I think it's a fun track. I think Ollie to me feels like just a pure racer. He just wants to throw the car around a track and have a good time. And this is the track to do that. And so I think he's going to love all the high speed stuff. I think he's going to have a very good weekend because I think it just fits with his general driving style. So we will see. Gloomy boy, Fernando Alonso. As I mentioned, I think Aston Martin is going to come away with the least amount of points non-Alpine division. And part of that is because Lance Stroll is going to do what Lance does. But also, I just think that the car is not ready for the skip and compound, the updates, the long lap, the tire chewing, even the wet weather. I think, weren't they a disaster in Silverstone when it came to making decisions on what tires to put on and when? So, yeah, I don't know if they have learned enough in just one weekend to nail it this time. So I think he's going to be another very frustrated. It's going to be another very frustrating day for him. Donald, who you got?
So my Zoomy boy is Lewis Hamilton. I told you, Ferrari's coming back, baby. We in this thing. The life player, me and Lewis to the day I die. I think he gets Lewis. I mean, I have him finishing third, so it makes sense for him to be Zoomy. Gloomy Boy, sorry, Kyle, I know you think that Williams is going to maybe have a nice little resurgence here. I think one half of that is possible. Carlos Sainz could definitely be a Zoomy Boy. My gloomy is Alex Albon. He has had a terrible summer so far. And it's inexplicable as to why it's been so rough for him. I think that continues.
Brutal. Well, there will be a lot to talk about post-race, and we will do that in our review of the race, which we try to get up at least 24 to 48 hours after the race. So be on the lookout for that, because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about, especially if it ends up raining, and especially with this skipping a compound and only having one practice session. I just think this is like a recipe for some level of disaster from someone. Maybe not every team, but I think we'll see some measure of calamity throughout the weekend. So we will see. Here's when to watch everything. Free practice 1. Get up early. I won't be awake, but you can. 6:25 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2 and ESPN Deportes is the only practice session you will see or have the ability to see this weekend, because then after that, 10:55 a.m., that's much better. I'll be awake for that on Friday. That is sprint qualifying. That's on ESPNU, ESPN3, and ESPN Deportes. The sprint race is on Saturday at 5:55 a.m. I will wake up and see what happened. Check out the results and watch the replay. That's on ESPN, the main ESPN channel, ESPN3 and ESPN Deportes. And then at least you get a little bit of reprieve when it comes to the Grand Prix qualifying and Grand Prix itself. Saturday, 9:55 a.m., ESPN2, ESPN Deportes. That is your Grand Prix qualifying. And then the main race Sunday, 8:55 a.m., ESPN, ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, and then the replay, only one this time, Sunday at 7 p.m. on ESPN News. That's it. That's our preview. Enjoy the race. Enjoy the weekend. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.